Hello everyone, my name is Jeanette and I'm here with the Woodstock Fruit Festival. Thank you for being here. Hi Fruity Cuties. And today we are going to be talking to Dr. Will Tuttle. Will Tuttle will be one of the presenters at the Woodstock Fruit Festival 2024, and he is here now. He is of course the author of the World Peace Diet, which let me know in the comments below if you have read this amazing, incredibly important book, one of the most important books on veganism. I highly recommend it. And we're going to bring him in and we're going to talk to him about his experience at the previous Woodstock Fruit Festivals and also what he's going to be presenting and talking about. And we're going to learn about his journey over the past 40 years being vegan. I think it's 40 years now. So here we go. I'm going to bring in Dr. Will Tuttle. And we're going to get started. And so can you guys do me a favor? Leave a comment down below. Where are you from? Where are you joining me from? I'm here in Miami, Florida. I think Dr. Tuttle is in California, I believe. And let me know, where are you from? Where are you joining from? I'm going to bring him in now. I'm really excited to talk to him. What's up, everyone? Fort Worth, Texas. Ooh, beautiful. Beautiful there. I was in Cleveland, Texas, looking for a venue for the Woodstock Fruit Festival. Let me try Will Tuttle again. And okay, so I invited him for the second time. We got Boston, Massachusetts. Very nice, Tessa. Thanks for being here. Yes. Sorry, Rosa Maria, I can't bring you in because we're going to be talking to Dr. Tuttle. But contact me. You can send me a message here on Instagram and maybe we can go live together at another time. All right, we got Houston, Texas in the house as well. Okay, very nice. Very nice, guys. And so, yeah, let me just tell you a little bit about the Woodstock Fruit Festival 2024. So, okay, so, oh, sorry. Hi, Will. So I'm sending you an invite. Do you see it? You're on your phone, right, Will? I'm just checking because I think it only works on the phone. Hi, Stephanie. What's up? What's up, guys? So you should be getting an invite from me. If you're not, Dr. Tuttle, maybe leave Instagram and come back. Maybe that will work. It usually works. Like close down Instagram, then come back to the live. So let me see. Keep inviting you, but I don't know why it doesn't go through. We did this before, I think. I'm pretty sure we went live before on my other page. So we'll see what's going on. Is Sherry here? Maybe she can help us. Oh yes, so Woodstock Fruit Festival 2024. It's really exciting. We are going to have amazing speakers that have been living a raw or high raw vegan lifestyle for 10, 20, 30, 40 years or more. And it's going to be an amazing time where people from all walks of life, from all over the world, come together to celebrate life and the beauty of this amazing, incredible lifestyle. A high fruit lifestyle saved my life personally. And let me know in the comments down below if the high raw fruit-based lifestyle affected you in any way. Has it helped you heal from anything, or has it helped you change any aspect of your life? Oh, okay, here we go. With you today, but send me a message. Yes, manifesting to afford this someday. Yeah, it's definitely worth the investment to go to Woodstock. It changed my life. And I'm going to talk to Will Tuttle today about how his experience was. Oh, hi.
Hi.
We made
Right.
it.
All right.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I think my headphones were not plugged in, so sorry, guys. Okay, now we're good, and we made it. And thank you so much, Dr. Tuttle. So first off, I want to ask you, I think you've been to the Woodstock Fruit Festival before, correct?
Actually, I've been to the Woodstock Food Festival that was in Hawaii a few years ago. That was fantastic. Yeah, I have never been to the one up on Lake George.
Yes.
but I've been
Okay.
to the one in Hawaii. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that experience, that Hawaii edition, which yeah, we had one in Hawaii.
Well, it was really amazing how much fruit there was and how delicious it was. All the coconuts and watermelons, bananas, and all the tropical fruit. And we were on a world tour at that point. That was, I think, maybe back in 20, I'm not sure, 18. I'm not sure what year it was, but we had gone all the way around the world. We'd given lectures in Europe, England, and Europe and India, and then all over Asia, in China, Taiwan. And then we kept going and got to Hawaii, and we did some on the different islands in Hawaii as well. So it was near the end of our tour, but it was great to meet the people and to see the enthusiasm that everybody had for healthy living, for meditation, for spiritual life, for being part of the solution to the problems on planet Earth from a spiritual perspective, and to try to create a world is more united. I think, really connecting with nature, and it was really beautiful. I mean, I remember swimming, there in the ocean, and just making great connections with lots of people. That's, I guess, what it's all about.
Yes, and a lot of people don't realize that your diet choices do affect the entire planet.
Right.
Every single time we eat a meal, we are voting for what we want more of, and the circumstances that we want to, create in the future. So now, thank you for that. Yes, I think the Hawaii one was 20, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2013 or 14. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it was around then.
Back then, maybe it was farther back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. And so now, can you tell us what are some of the things that you are excited to speak about and present at the Woodstock Fruit Festival 2024, which is going to be in South Florida, Homestead, Florida?
Right. Right. Well, there's a lot, actually. I'll be there with my wife, Madeline, who's also a longtime vegan, and she became a fruitarian way back in 1975.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
for a few years. And so we're looking forward to it. We'll be speaking at Hippocrates Health Institute for about 6 weeks and coming down from there. And we'll be on a 5-month tour. It's called the Food for Freedom Tour. And my new book, actually, the first major book since the World Peace Diet, will be coming out, should be out by then, called Food for Freedom. And the basic idea, I guess, we'll be sharing some ideas from that book. The underlying idea is just the benefits of a whole food, organic, plant-based diet. And like you say, primarily raw. And I think the powerful positive influence that has not only on our own health, but on the 5 dimensions of health. I talk quite a bit about the 5 dimensions of health, which are the 3 outer dimensions of health are the health of our earth, the environment, the health of our society, our culture, the health of our physical body, and then the 2 inner ones are the health of our mind, our psychological health, and then our spiritual health. And so the basic idea is that when we're eating animal-based foods, and we're all born into a society where we're taught to do that from the time we're little kids, it's damaging all 5 levels of health. It's really hard on the environment. It causes a lot of war and conflict in the world. It's really hard on our physical body to eat all the saturated fat and cholesterol and acidifying and inflammatory animal protein. And then psychologically, we're eating a lot of attitudes when we're eating animal foods that are very harmful to us psychologically and emotionally. And then the big one, of course, is spiritually, our purpose on this earth to awaken and to be part of the healing here is very much damaged by that too. So the good news is that none of us need to eat animal-based foods at all to be healthy. I've been doing it now for 44 years, and it's fantastic. I mean, I always say the smartest thing I ever did besides marrying Madeline was going vegan way back in 1980. And I'll be speaking about that. And also we're doing a special workshop on developing intuition. I have a PhD from Berkeley back in the late 1980s, focusing on educating intuition in adults. And that dissertation was actually nominated as the best dissertation at Berkeley that year. And
I believe it.
yeah, so
Wow.
we'll be doing a workshop on that, on cultivating our inner wisdom, our spiritual intuition. I was a Zen Buddhist monk in Korea back in the early 1980s, and I'll be leading some meditations also while we are there. And then Madeline and I will do a workshop on healthy relationships. We've been happily married now over 30 years, and I think diet is a big part of it, but there's more than just diet. It's having a purpose that you share together, and having a spiritual practice and exercise and lots of things. So we'll be talking about that. And Madeline was actually trained as a Waldorf school teacher, and so she'll be talking about education for children. We're doing something on that also. So there's quite a few different events we'll be doing. We'll be there for a good three and a half days. I think over the weekend we'll be there. So we're looking forward to it. Yeah.
I am so excited, and I pray that I can make every one of you and Madeline's talks. I pray that I can be there because it's really exciting for me. And yeah, your book, we've interviewed before, but I just want to say again, your book changed my life and changed my attitude as a vegan, because I was very angry. I was a very angry vegan, and then I read your book and I saw it in a different way. And so thank you very much for doing that book and, stepping into your greatness.
Well, yeah, the World Peace Diet came out. It's been about a little over 15 years now. It's been out quite a while. It's been translated into many languages. I think we're up to about 19 languages, and everywhere we travel around the world, we hear the same thing. This book was just translated by volunteers. They wanted to get it out into their country, wherever it was, and all over Asia, Africa, the Middle East, all over Europe. And so we've been so blessed. We've been able to travel to over 50 countries and speak about this many times in really interesting situations in China, many times in China, and like I say, Southeast Asia, all over the place, Africa. And we've been to lots of animal sanctuaries. We've been to so many veg fests and marches and vegan restaurants, and all over the world. And it's a global movement. And it's, I think, the healthiest thing that's happening on the earth, really. It's really getting to the root of the problems that we have. If we're going to insist on continuing to enslave and exploit and abuse animals for food, which is completely unnecessary, then it not only does it directly cause the problems that we're having, the environmental devastation and the hunger, because we could feed everyone. We could feed 12 billion people easily on the food that we're growing. Yes. And so all the conflict we're having, are the diseases that we're seeing, all this problem with people being afraid of germs and so forth. All of these things really go back to a mentality of being afraid of nature, dominating and exploiting nature, dominating and exploiting animals, dominating and exploiting the sacred feminine dimension of life. And that's the spinning fury at the core of our culture that we're taught to just not see, just ignore it, and then try to have peace and try to have health, try to have harmony and sustainability. It's never going to happen. So until we actually make these connections as individuals and then come together like you're doing, have a festival that celebrates the truth that we can thrive without causing suffering to other beings. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is that the last time I went to a drugstore or pharmacy or a doctor, anything with a medical establishment, was 1973. So that's over 50 years ago. So I think it's people go, how is that possible? I think it's not me that's special. It's just our society's gotten so skewed that everybody thinks they have to go to the pharmacy and the doctor for everything all the time. People didn't used to do that. They used to live their lives and not be sick all the time. I mean, I have to say, we've given over 4,000 lectures. I've never missed one. I don't get sick. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, if we're taking responsibility for our health, which is a big job. I mean, it's not just food. It's food and attitude and exercise and relationships and many different things. But in many ways, it's all food in the sense that everything I'm reading, everything I'm thinking, everything I'm eating, everything I'm drinking, everything I'm breathing, that's all, in a sense, an aspect of food. This is what we're bringing.
Mm.
And so we have to be responsible for the quality of our food, not just the physical food, but also the water we're drinking. Make sure we're conscious of the water and the air and our thoughts and what we're reading and what we're saying, our relationships. Organic is really important, of course. There's so many poisons. But the thing to understand is that there's no money in healthy people. The greatest nightmare for what I call the military, industrial, medical, pharmaceutical, media banking complex. Their worst nightmare is people like me who just never support their system. I never buy anything that has chemicals on it or drugs or anything. And that's how we really are called, I think, to be living in that way, where we have conversations to support the truth that our body is a miraculously intelligent self-healing system, and we're being completely doused with chemicals, toxic chemicals in our food, water, air, and electromagnetic radiation, all this stuff. So we have to be savvy. We have to be really aware of these efforts that are being made continually to dumb us down and to make us sick and disempower us. Because just the way we look at cows and pigs and chickens as livestock, there is a tiny plutocratic elite, basically, that looks at us like livestock. And just like we do, we have all kinds of scientists working to reduce their intelligence, to make these animals easier to control, because then it's more profitable. You want cows and pigs and chickens that just sit there and don't, they just do whatever they're told. So we have to understand that, that we're basically born into systems like being born on a dairy, like a calf being born on a dairy. We're born into a factory farm in many ways. And the people who are attracted to the Woodstock Food Festival are people who are awakening out of that and who are saying, wait a minute, I'm not just a piece of livestock. I'm not just a piece of meat that was born to be exploited and used and have a quadruple heart bypass and diabetes and all these other problems and not really live my life. I'm here to live and celebrate the beauty of nature and the beauty of my spirit and the beauty of the oneness of all life that's living through us. And so I'm not going to go along with that. I'm not going along with that anymore. And so we're saying no, to those things, but those no's that we're saying are really yeses. We're saying yes to compassion and kindness and caring. So I hope I'm on here. This is anyway. I appreciate.
Yeah, we're losing service a tiny bit though.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You're a little
I
fuzzy.
could see a circle. Yeah.
But I can hear you. Okay, wow, that was really powerful. And yes, every single person that comes to Woodstock is like-minded and wants to do better and feel better and, just live better. And learning how to do that is, sometimes not easy, just like finding the right information and the truth. And so my question to you is, because you spoke about how you are going to have one workshop on tapping into your intuition. Okay. And so my question is, well, how can someone know what is the truth? Because I honestly get a lot of messages every day, and people are asking me, well, what is the truth about nutrition? What is the truth about this? One plant-based doctor saying this works, and the other plant-based doctor saying, don't do that. That's the worst kind of water to drink, or that's you shouldn't eat this, you should eat that. So I'm curious your thoughts on how can someone know what is the truth, and how can someone tap into their intuition? Can you hear me? Nope.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yes, barely.
Uh-huh. I'm wondering why I don't have a good connection. I'll just step outside. I'm not sure if it's me or what, but I usually have a good connection here.
Let me see if it's me.
I'll go outside just to make sure.
Okay, yes, I'm on the Wi-Fi. So
can you hear me okay? Right
yes, here. I can hear you. You're a little fuzzy, but I can hear you.
Right. Well, to answer your question, and just stop me if you can't hear me,
Okay.
but um, what I talk about in my new book, Food for Freedom, I address this question of how do you really know what's true is really true, or what you think is true is really true. And that's basically considered the epistemology. I actually used to teach college courses in epistemology, the study of truth, how you know what you think is true. And ultimately, it's a spiritual question. I mean, I think we need to combine the three powers that we have. So the three powers that we have are rationality and empathy and intuition. And those three powers together, I think, can bring us to what's called discriminating awareness wisdom. And discriminating awareness wisdom is the wisdom that looks deeply and understands what's actually happening. So
Mm.
that's it's something that ripens with time, I think. And it's really important mainly to understand our own mind and how our mind tends to cling to a certain way of seeing the world and understand our conditioning. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of inner work. It takes these two kinds of work. It's like it takes a lot of work in the outer world to actually be open to other points of view that maybe I wasn't open to before, and to entertain them, and to be willing to ask questions and not have to abide by what people call groupthink. That's what everybody thinks, so I'm going to think the same thing they think, and to resist that. So that's one of the strengths that we can build up, like a muscle we can build, we can develop. And
Yes.
I think going vegan, for example, is a great training, because we're eating differently than everyone eats, and food is the most powerful social bonding agent that there is. It's food, when we're sharing food. So if we're questioning that, and we're developing a strong character, so that when people try to push us into eating food that we don't want to eat from an ethical or health point of view, then we're starting to develop the muscle of questioning the official narratives in our society and the official narratives that are in our head. And so that's one of the most important things as a foundation. And then if we can take every day some time to enter the silence of our own consciousness, we begin to get guidance that way. I think inner silence is very important, because when our rational conditioned mind is quiet, then something from can come into our awareness, and we can get a sense of if it feels like it's true or not. The big problem we have in our society, I think, mainly is that from the time we're little kids, the education system and pretty much everything in our society pressures us to obey authorities, to trust authorities, to do whatever authorities tell us to do. And so very often, if we're vegans or raw foodists, we abandon one set of authorities, but then we embrace another set of authorities. And ultimately, you don't really only have one authority, which is our own inner wisdom. So to understand all this, that we can look outside of ourselves for guidance from other people, that's great. But ultimately, we're responsible for our choices, for what we eat, what we say, what we wear, how we live our lives. And that's, I think, the main thing to always be aware of. So hopefully that's helpful. Can you hear me okay?
You're cutting in and out a lot. I heard it, but I'm not sure if everyone else did. You're cutting in and out a lot, so it's not ideal. Yeah, Sherry, it's not ideal. Um, let's see. We might have lost him. Well, I can come come back. I can go out and come back if
I'm,
that helps.
I'm
Oh,
here.
you're here.
Are you there?
Yes, but you were frozen for a while.
Okay. Okay. Is this good?
This is better. Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
switch the Wi-Fi or something?
I switched to a different Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I,
this is better.
so,
Perfect.
so maybe, yeah, that'll help. Okay.
Okay, so now I wanted to go, I had a few questions. First of all, I wanted to go back. You said that like scientists are researching on how to like make animals in factories more docile and easy to control. And I'm wondering like, do you have information on like how they're doing that? Are they giving them like medications, I'm assuming, or hormones or something like this?
Yeah, there's two main things. I mean, one is breeding. You know, they've been working for hundreds of years, really breed. I mean, for thousands of years, it's been all about breeding, and that's been a kind of a bad thing. Like really, science, actually, the roots of science, if you go back, it's how to dominate animals, how to get animals that have more flesh and more wool and more milk,
Mm,
and who
mhm.
will give us in a systematized way, and then breed them, crossbreed them, and develop techniques to dominate and exploit animals. That's really the foundation of science. And it's become more, the same thing with nature. How do we can dominate and use nature? And so it's created this sense of separateness uh, from nature, and the idea that we'll be happy when we can dominate nature
Yeah.
completely. If we can have a completely artificial environment and completely artificial temperature and artificial food, then we'll be happy to get as far away from nature as possible and dominate it completely. So they use breeding, and then they use different hormonal, hormones that they give these animals that they've developed, and to make them, in chemicals, the same kind of things. I mean, they have for the humans the same thing, antidepressants, things to just try to make them less anxious. And they have other sort of material things that they do as well, like turning the lights out in these places and various things like that, and physical things.
I see.
But the main idea is, and then they mutilate them. I mean, they cut their beaks off, cut their tails off, bash their noses, do all kinds of things so they don't bite each other and
Mm,
hurt each other. So it's just anything they can do to make them more docile, and just to be something that will just eat and then be slaughtered, or give milk or give eggs. And
yeah.
the thing I have to emphasize is that the fundamental spiritual teaching in all world religions, which is the ancient wisdom of our species, is whatever you sow, so shall you reap. I mean, we have to really understand this clearly. If we're going to insist on sowing seeds by the millions every day of exploiting and dumbing down and dominating and sexually abusing millions of animals, and not only just paying for that and making that happen with our dollars, but then turning around and actually eating that and building the body out of that. I mean, we are so far lost in terms of creating any kind of a foundation for actually authentic love and kindness and sustainability and freedom and creativity and so forth, because the food system, it's not that we're bad or we're warlike or we're dominating. It's just that we've been born into a culture with an obsolete food orientation. Food is the biggest connection we have with our society and with nature. And that is filled with really satanic violence, which we don't recognize. We don't see it. It's like, wow, it's good food for good people. It's how we were raised. And so that's the thing. So it's not our fault. We don't have to feel guilty or blame anyone, really. It's like I say in the World Peace Act, it goes back 10,000 years. People started herding animals, owning them as property, and that we crossed a lot of lines, a lot of ethical lines. We had to dominate them sexually. We had to steal the babies and kill the babies and impregnate them again. And we had to do things really, really satanic, demonic, and just do them like it's okay. And then say, well, we're doing it because God wants us to. We're sacrificing it to God. We kind of made the deity in our image, the good shepherd. But the shepherd, when you think about it, does nothing but kill the animals. There's an old saying from Africa: the sheep spends his whole life afraid of the wolf, but it's the shepherd who kills the sheep. I mean, that's the thing. And we have to
Yeah.
realize that it's the same thing in our society. It's the it's the whoever's our shepherds. We think that they're here to help us and trust us, and we trust the media, we trust the government, we trust the medical establishment, and we got to realize they're actually paid when people are chronically ill. That's where they get their big money. The worst thing for them is people that are just healthy and happy. So,
Yes.
it's not, again, we don't have to be angry about it. We just have to realize it and then do what you're doing, celebrate and connect with like-minded people
Yeah.
and create an alternative. A community. Community is the key, because community is what got us here. The only reason anyone eats animal foods is because of the communities they're in.
Right.
So if we create alternative communities that celebrate another way of eating and living, then we are doing the best thing anyone can do to help create a positive future for our children and for ourselves.
That is such a beautiful way of putting that. That was my next question, which is how do we not be angry? And the solution is to join communities and get out there and connect with like-minded people. And, instead of just like trying to fight against, such a horrible industry, which is the animal cruelty industry, trying to more promote, a world peace diet. And okay, so now I wanted to ask you about do you talk about in your new book, do you talk about the vegan junk food phenomena that
Yeah,
is going around right now?
I
And what are
do.
your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I think that that's a very important point. And to me, I call it faux veganism. It's a false veganism, because really veganism, I'm a longtime vegan. I remember in the good old days, veganism was very much connected with harmony with nature and spirituality and healthy food. Healthy. It was healthy. It was like whole food. We ate vegetables and beans and, things like
The
that. But
worst thing that
fruits.
vegans used to eat was like tofu ice
Yeah,
cream. You know what I
right.
mean?
That was like processed food, but that
That
was the
was
only
it.
thing we had. It was processed. So in the early days, we were just eating fruits and veggies and things, and and then when veganism started to become more successful, then all these businesses started moving in to make food that was vegan, and it's highly processed. It's from a factory. And so and they call it plant-based. And I make the joke of, it's plant-based because it comes out of a plant, not a factory plant. And
Yeah.
and so these foods, these Franken foods, these like Impossible burgers and all kinds of cheese and all these things. The problem is, people say, well, but it's so good, it makes people go vegan. It kind of helps them to transition.
Yeah.
And okay, all right, maybe it does help them transition, but we have to not let people stay there very long. I mean, if you're going to transition, okay, do it in 2 weeks or a week or whatever. But like get out of there, because the problem is a lot of vegans kind of pride themselves. Well, I can eat vegan ice cream, I can eat vegan burgers, I can eat vegan eggs, I can eat vegan cheese. It's all vegan. And then they wonder why they're sick all the time. And the worst thing for our movement is people who are so-called vegan and are sick and are unhealthy. And because then
Yeah.
it destroys the movement, because then they say, well, I tried being a vegan, it didn't when I gave up that food and I started eating real food, like real meat, then I felt much better. I mean, that's the worst thing. But it's going to happen. And when you look at who's actually infiltrating the vegan movement, it's a lot of these Bill Gates, for example, giving money. I mean, these globalists they're promoting GMOs. They're promoting big pharma. And we have to understand that big pharma is just as much of an enemy as big ag and big chemical. I mean, they're all the same. There's three industries that are completely one. The pharmaceutical industry tortures and kills millions of animals to create drugs, vaccines, and all these other things. And their worst enemy is vegans. The pharmaceutical industry hates vegans more than the meat, dairy, and egg industry do, because the meat, dairy, and egg industries, they're already diversifying, and they're buying up and making plant-based so-called meat, dairy, and eggs. But they don't hate vegans. They can make money off of vegans. But the pharmaceutical industry really hates vegans, especially healthy vegans, because that's like they require sick people. And so I found over the years, I mean, I've been an activist for 40 years, that the pharmaceutical industry really is to be very much don't support. They really are trying to make people sick and keep people eating animal foods and chemicals, because the pharmaceutical industry, it's all petroleum. You know, it's the petroleum industry is where the big money was and still is now, but especially it was at Rockefeller. And he took over like 120 years ago, took over the AMA and changed it from being more naturopathic and concerned about your diet and your health and as a holistic point of view, to saying no, medicine has to be science-based. And science meant drugs that could be patent medicines. And so basically what Rockefeller did, and we have to understand it's still going on today, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Gates Foundation, these are very much interconnected. And the huge money that came from petroleum, this monopoly, they found they could make more money when they refined that into chemicals. And so now so after World War II especially, we started this massive chemical spraying of now, glyphosate, we have atrazine, we have paraquat, we have all these neonicotinoids, dioxin, all these things that are sprayed to kill insects and so forth. And that all ends up in the food. And so it works great. You get more sick people, more profits, more cancer, more diabetes, more heart disease. That works great. So they're making more money. Then if you refine these chemicals, these petrochemicals more, you get pharmaceuticals. And so these chemical pharmaceutical poisons, they're giving them to everybody more and more, however they can. And again, it's the same industry. It's all one industry. And they make most of their money, like there's over 10,000 drugs that have been approved to be used on cows, pigs, and chickens that are factory farmed. They make massive. And then people eat all these drug residues in the flesh and secretions of these animals. And this pharma is behind everything. And the petroleum industry is behind everything. They want it. They use so much. It takes so much land. It takes at least 10 times as much land to feed someone eating a meat and dairy standard American diet than someone eating a plant-based diet. And all that land has to be sprayed with chemicals. And then people need petroleum to do the system, and they need drugs. So we have to understand that whole system. It's based on, it's science-based. It's called the Green Revolution. It's all science, 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 science. So really, you have to understand that whenever you hear that word science, you better run the other way. Because what they're talking about is poison and domination and exploitation of the weak by the strong. And so what veganism from the beginning was much more about questioning all of that and being healthy and being self-reliant, being self-responsible and trusting each other and trusting nature. And and realizing that when I'm sick, that's not a bad thing. Sickness is basically the body cleansing.
Yeah.
If I get a sore throat, runny nose, whatever it is, headache, it's these toxins are going out. Okay, good. Be happy. Don't run to the store and get some kind of chemical to stop the process. So we're to cleanse our body. So everything we've been told is pretty much wrong. We're being deceived. That's the thing. And so one of the things I've been writing about also is that being deceived is not ethically okay. All right. I mean, it's like we say in every religion there's a condition. We should not harm others. We should not deceive others. And that's true. Every religion and every ethical system agrees on that. But I would broaden that to say we should also not allow ourselves to be deceived, because as soon as we become gullible and easily deceptive, we really tempt people to deceive us and steal from us. And deception is a very different kind of harm. It's a harm that we don't know we're being harmed. See, that's the thing about deception. When people are deceived, like if I'm stolen from or beaten up or whatever, I know, I got hurt. But with deception, we don't even know we're being deceived, and we have no idea, and we're losing our health, we're losing our purpose, we're losing our freedom, we're losing everything. We don't even realize it because we're being deceived. So it's very important for us in the health movement to not allow ourselves to be deceived, to really cultivate discriminating awareness, like I was talking about earlier, so we can discriminate deception from truth, and trust the bigger picture, the beauty of nature. Connect with that, and also be willing to see the suffering, for example, in hungry people and in animals and so forth, but don't let that pull you down, because we can transform that into action. That's the important thing. It's not. I'm not saying not to feel the sense of compassion and empathy, and it really is the pain of knowing that animals are being abused. We have to be aware of that. But there's also something very beautiful to see. I'm going to try to rescue them. I'm going to try to, I'm going to live my life. The short time I'm here, we only get maybe 10 or 11 decades. You eat a lot of sprouts, you get 12 decades. It goes by very fast, though. It goes by fast. Yeah. So the whole idea is to use the time we have while we're here in a positive way, which is this, to emphasize love and joy and compassion and creativity and health, and turn the darkness that's happening, not to let that pull us down, not to let the vibration pull us down, but to consciously raise our vibration and become contagious with the joy of freedom, that we can eat and live in a positive way, and that makes it better for everyone, and we can actually do something. And our actions can be out in the world, building community. They can also be internal, where I actually generate love in my heart and just radiate it out into the world. And when we do that, we're helping to build a new world, either externally or internally. So there's a lot we can do while we're here. And it really comes back to the sense of questioning the official narratives, not trusting outer authorities, connecting with our inner authority, and then trusting in the beauty of the earth and in the abundance of the earth, and our body's awareness of what we should be eating. I think we know that at a deep level. When we see a little rabbit, we don't start getting all, salivating. I mean, that's ridiculous. We're totally we've been really brainwashed and programmed by our society, and so creating communities that are alternative to that are the main way that we can break the spell, I think. And that's what happened to me. I went to the farm in Tennessee back in 1975, which was the largest hippie commune in the world back then. And I was in this community of where it was, I think it was like 900 people, and they were all totally vegan, and so that was it. I really learned, because they had little kids that were vegan from birth, and they were thriving. Everybody was thriving, and it was all whole foods. There wasn't anything processed. And so I was only there for about a month, but that was enough. I've never eaten meat in my life since then. It was just that example. And so I think, like the Woodstock Fruit Festival, you have an example, a living example of thriving, happy people. Don't need animal foods, don't need all this other stuff and drugs and so forth. And it's a tremendous gift, really, that we give each other when we support this kind of activity.
Absolutely. And I agree. I think the most productive thing we can do with our, life here, our 10 decades or so, is to be a positive, healthy example of a vegan. And that requires a plant-based diet, a plant-exclusive diet, a diet high in fresh, beautiful, ripe, juicy fruit and veggies. And sure, there's some other cool things you can put in there, sprouts and seaweeds and things like that. But the basis should be the fresh fruit and vegetables. And yeah, I agree with Woodstock Fruit Festival. I mean, it changed my life, because there's one thing to watch a video of you speaking, but it's another thing to see in person, like hundreds of people like you, just like happy and thriving and having this energy that you can't really, this vibration that you can't really feel through the internet. So yes, I agree. And I love events with, hundreds of plant exclusive people. It's just it's an incredible feeling to be around so many people. And I wanted to ask you, because I get a lot of questions, Dr. Tuttle, about organic, right? And some people are afraid to eat a high raw diet because they can't afford 100% organic. And you did mention a lot of the horrible, really dangerous pesticides that are being sprayed on our fruit and vegetables. So I'm wondering, do you eat 100% organic? And what are your thoughts on that? If somebody cannot eat 100% organic, what should they do?
Great question. Um, we eat 100% organic. I mean, my wife Madeline is like, she's from Switzerland, and she was actually the personal assistant of Alfred Vogel, who was the big pioneer of organic foods back in the 1970s, 60s, 70s, and 80s in Europe. And so we are really organic, and there's nothing we ever eat, anything that's not organic. And because of her, I think. I mean, I'm the same way, but she's like takes it to the nth degree. And so it's interesting because we travel all over the world, and then people want to have us for dinner, and we're like, well, is it organic? It's vegan, it's vegan. Okay, good, but is it organic? And she really wants to know. And she's also pretty sensitive. She can feel it if it's not organic. And even like any rice that's grown in the United States, for example, it says it's organic. She won't eat it because she can tell, even if it's organic, there's still residues of chemicals in our soil here. So we have to get it from Asia. But I think organic is really important. Veganic is the best, right? So that's organic and without any bone meal, blood meal, manure, and all that stuff. So we have, like where we live now, we lived in an RV for 17 years. And so all I could grow was sprouts. We had a lot of sprouts because we were in an RV traveling. But now we have a little bit of land. We have about 1/4 of an acre that's devoted to a food forest. And we have now 76 fruit and nut trees that we've planted right here. And so we're eating huge amounts of everything we grow ourselves. It's been 10 years. So right now I just harvested a lot of persimmons and walnuts and figs. We just finished up the figs, and we had so many, and apples, we get a lot of apples coming in. We had so many peaches and nectarines and apricots, and we had everything. I mean, and then of course we have a lot of veggies and cucumbers and tomatoes and things too. We have 6 raised beds that grow veggies. But having a veganic food forest here, really, it's been such a learning experience because we really understand how to create an ecosystem. I mean, we're learning. It's an ongoing process in cooperation with the microorganisms and the insects and the birds and everybody, and have the tremendous abundance, like these little trees just giving us huge amounts of food, so much we can eat. We can share it with people. We even sell some at the local farmers markets. And so I've become a little bit of a farmer myself, which is great. So I think we should just spend the extra money if it's at all possible, because we need to support farmers who are doing trying to build soil. And if we're not buying organic, we're definitely getting glyphosate. I mean, glyphosate is the #1 herbicide worldwide, and especially in the United States. And it's in everything now. I mean, it's pretty much in it. If you buy something that's not organic, you're going to be getting some glyphosate. And glyphosate is a broad spectrum antibiotic. And so it really attacks not only the microbiome in the soil, that's what it does. It destroys the microbiome of the soil. It kills the bacteria and what they're trying to do. But it does the same thing to our microbiome. And so everybody who is suffering so much now with leaky gut and all kinds of problems with digestion, it's glyphosate. It's an absolute windfall profits for the medical cartel. They love it. I mean, they love this stuff. They love, the more chemicals you spray, the more money they make. So there's no incentive at all to spray less. And it's so funny because back in 1945, when we used basically no pesticides at all, it was just everything was organic because that was it. Farmers lost about 20% of their crops to pests. Now we're basically spewing millions and millions of pounds of pesticides and destroying fish and bird and insect populations and causing cancer and all kinds of problems. And farmers are losing about 40% of their crops to pests now. I mean, it just shows, but they don't mind. It's great. And they're making more money than ever, right? They're making more money on sickness and on pesticides, the whole thing. And the bankers in the background are just raking it in. So we have to understand that the system is designed to thrive on sickness and pollution. And that's good for a tiny elite, like 1/10,000th of 1% of the human population. They're making a lot of money on this. But for us, it's not in our best interest. So when we buy organic, we're making a statement to support farmers who are working better, to reduce the chemical load, not only in the land, but on ourselves. And it just helps everyone. And it's good to be really conscious too, because the constant efforts are being made to dilute the organic standards, to allow spraying of organic produce with this new coating that they're trying to put on it. So we're always writing letters and talking to the people to try to get them not to carry that. And so we have to really be proactive, I think, in everything nowadays. To be proactive, talk to your local farmers at the farmers market, talk to your local grocers wherever you buy your food. Find out where they get their food, and as much as you can, grow your own or support people who are doing it. Growing food is something that we can do. Even if you only have a little porch or only a little room, you can still grow. You can grow veggies and things. It's possible.
Sprouts and your
Sprouts.
herbs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I want to ask you a random question. If you had a choice and you saw that it was a seedless organic watermelon or a seeded non-organic watermelon, which would you go with? Because people ask me, what's healthier, seedless organic fruit or seeded non-organic fruit?
I would do the organic because
Organic.
if it's not organic, my gosh, you're gonna have you're for sure gonna have pesticides in there,
And the glyphosate goes into like the skin. It breaks the skin barrier and it goes in the
yeah,
soil.
it's in the actual fruit. It's not just sprayed on the outside. It's actually in there. So that's the problem. So non-organic, it's going to have glyphosate and could have other things too. Organic could have also, I mean, hopefully, but they're going to be trying to not have it.
Yes.
So that's why it's good to eat a clean diet, and to fast maybe once a year. We let our bodies cleanse, but to do the best we can, not from the very beginning, not to buy things that are non-organic. Yeah.
Well, you're giving me a lot to think about because, I eat a plant exclusive diet and I can't always find organic, but that's just like a story that I've told myself because the truth is that yeah, I can probably, go to new stores and I could make more of an effort, and I do agree that the microbiome in the soil is being destroyed and then it destroys our microbiome and it's just like that's not what the purpose of eating is, to eat chemicals and to, I want to nourish my body. So, yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. You're teaching me a
it's
lot.
tricky. It is tricky, is because especially with restaurants, even mostly vegan restaurants, we go there. I'm giving a lecture at the vegan restaurant. We've got to call them like 3 weeks ahead and say, listen, we're coming. We'll eat anything you make, but as long as it's organic. And they're like, all right, we'll try to, and they have to specially go out and, get something just for the two of us, because, they're just not set up for that for the most part. So but we figure, we're going to keep talking about it so they get the idea,
Yeah, listen, I live in South Florida and there's one restaurant that I know is 100% organic. One.
Mm.
And it's called Screaming Carrots, and it's in like Fort Lauderdale, I think. And the owner's amazing. He knows the value of organic, and that's the only restaurant that I know of. And there's raw vegan restaurants; they're not organic, And so yeah, I agree that it is quite difficult to eat out at a restaurant. Yeah, I think it's amazing, and I want to be more organic as well. So. If anybody's watching this, there's a reason why you're here watching this. Okay, so take it as a sign,
Yeah.
And so, Dr. Tuttle, I want to say thank you so much for your time. I always love talking to you, and I'm excited to meet in person. And if anybody watching this would like to meet Dr. Tuttle and attend his workshops in person, you can click the link in our bio. We are sold out for the Woodstock Fruit Festival, but you can get on the wait list if anybody cancels. But yeah, we have sold all the tickets. It's really, really exciting. And I am so excited to meet you and just thank you in person. And yes, so thank you very much for your time. And thank you everybody for watching. We will see you soon. Thank you so much, Dr. Tuttle.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.